Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name's Nissa. I'm the owner of Magica Paws, helping you help your pets. And today we are going to be talking about pandemic puppies. We've all heard about them. We all know that there's going to be some issues. But, sorry, Instagram. I'm trying to set you up on a Dunkin's cup, so sorry. Anyway, hi. We're streaming live across multiple services, and my phone keeps falling over with Instagram, so please bear with me. I can't wait till Instagram lets me do this all on a webcam too. Someday. Anyway, what I wanted to talk to you about is there is a huge problem going on with the pandemic puppies. Also, sorry if you can hear Nugget. Nugget is chirping in the background. She doesn't make normal cat noise. Can you guys hear her? I'm really curious. But anyway, so we have a big problem going on right now, and I'm not sure if you guys have seen it, but I'm going to show you. So we are seeing so many articles along these lines. Our pandemic puppy was a terrible idea. People who got puppies were in over their heads. It is something that every single news agency is talking about. We had New York Times, Slate, Wall Street Journal, BBC, even the American Kennel Club is getting in on it as well, and even some smaller local groups. So just so you know, there is a huge problem. Just wanted to get to the scale of it. So why am I talking about it on here? And the honest answer is, well, I'm a dog trainer. Like, pandemic puppies have been my life for the past few months because people are starting to realize that that cute little puppy that they got is no longer a cute little puppy. They're getting to be a year old, and they're getting to be a handful, to say the least. So I wanted to go over a little bit about the problems that I am encountering as a trainer / dog walker / daycare owner, and all of that, the problems that I'm seeing, the trends that I'm seeing in pandemic puppies, as well as some tips for helping to ease that. So buckle up. If you have any questions, please put them down in the comments. I'm happy to answer them as we go through all of this. And don't cheetahs chirp. That's true. Cheetahs do chirp. She is very much not a cheetah. I would go and get her, except for she's still trying to learn to like me. So I don't want to traumatize her. Anyway, one of the things that I am seeing, well, there's a whole bunch of things that I'm seeing. Who am I kidding? There's a lot going on with pandemic puppies. There's issues of socialization. There's issues with lack of exercise. There's issues with understimulation. All sorts of different things are going on, and it's starting to become more of a chronic issue, which is to be expected because we've been stuck in this weird limbo for a year now, at least a year. So it's only natural that we're going to start seeing these issues persist and get worse because the situation that we're in hasn't changed. So I'm going to go through, I don't really know the best way to phrase. They're not, I guess they are problems, they are issues. I'm trying to sugarcoat it, and I shouldn't. I should just be completely blunt with you guys. The main things that I'm seeing are that dogs are being under-socialized, under-exercised, and under-trained. So, and not left alone. I was trying to make an under to make it go with everything else, but they're not being left alone either, and that's causing some huge issues too. So let's start with where I started, under-socialized. So this is pretty predictable. We are in quarantines almost everywhere. There's not a lot of people going out and about and seeing different things and like taking their dogs different places. They're not like, there's not a ton of people that are able to do group classes. I am very lucky that I'm able to do group classes here because I do have the space, but not every trainer is lucky enough to do that. Especially like the big box stores like PetSmart and Petco all have very small training centers. So they can't have a group class. They could maybe have 2 people in most of their training rings, but that's not gonna, it's not much of a group class. So dogs are being under socialized with other dogs, with other people, and just in general. I think a lot of people forget that socialization isn't just about introducing them to other dogs or people. It's about new experiences, going out and seeing cars, going out and seeing different parks and different stores and all the different environments that they might have to go into at some point in their life. Those are all taken away from them, or at least not available to them in the same extent that they would be in a not lockdown situation. So I'm seeing a lot of issues where that's concerned. That's mainly, I'm seeing it in the form of fear or mild aggression. I'm also seeing it here in the daycare dogs, as in absolutely no social skills. They don't know how to play properly. They don't know how to self-regulate their energy. We're seeing a lot of what's called tipping, where they're so overstimulated to the point where their brain shut off. They tip over the edge. So we're seeing a lot of that too. Then as far as under-exercised, this is also to be expected. People are home all day. And while everybody at first was taking their dogs for lots of walks and all of that, and people still might be taking their dogs for lots of walks, but as we get into the second year of homeschooling, of working from home, all of that, people are just burned out. They're not able to do as much. They don't have the get up and go that we did when we first started the pandemic and the lockdown. So I'm seeing a lot of dogs that are maybe getting 1 or 2 walks a day, and that's about it. And that is not enough for any dog. Walks alone are not enough as far as exercise go. You need to be doing things that are interactive. You need to be doing different kinds of walks. A lot of times people think that a walk is you walk around your neighborhood and then you come home and you do it at a relatively steady pace, stopping for potty breaks, and that's it. Which that's a totally fine kind of walk, but it can't be the only kind of walk. You also need to do walks that are more enriching and engaging for the dog that you're walking. So lots of sniffing, lots of getting able to explore, to see other animals, to like see birds and squirrels and be given permission not to chase them, but to acknowledge their existence and interact with them. And a lot of times we don't have time for that. So we forget that. And that's no longer a part of our walking. Well, it hasn't been a part of our walking routines. You also need to realize that walking itself, while it is good exercise for us, it is not enough exercise, really even for us. So you need to think about how you can get that heart rate up. How can you give them some more physical exercise? So we're talking things like running or hiking, things that are a little bit more intense on the system. I have a nugget. She's right there. Can I show you? Pardon my super messy office. Oh, there she is. Spring cleaning has been more spring destroying in my office. Anyway, so you need to do something that's like cardio for your dogs, just like you do for us. You need to do something that works their muscles a little bit more than a walk. So things like hikes, runs, those kinds of things are awesome. But you also want to do something that's engaging and playful with your dog. So things like fetch, tug, playing down on the floor, interactive games between the two of you, all sorts of stuff like that is super important as well. You can also go ahead and send them to doggy daycare. I love seeing them at doggy daycare, don't get me wrong. But that can't be the only way you exercise and enrich them either. You need to have a whole bunch of different things going on in your dog's life in order to make them a fully enriched being. How many walks a day and how long? Good question. I just almost called you Mrs. Rosano. Beth is my former high school religion teacher, so it just feels weird calling her Beth. But anyway, how many walks a day and how long? It really depends on the dog. If you have an older dog that doesn't have a ton of energy, then a few walks a day that are shorter is totally fine. For puppies, however, you want to be able to get a lot of energy out between all of their naps. So as they get older, you're going to want to do either longer walks or more longer walks, even better. So I would tell you as many walks for as long as you can do that in your schedule, in your routine. The important thing is to keep it routine. That's the most important part of it, not so much how many or how long. It's because you can always supplement with other stuff to get that energy out. You can supplement with doggy daycare. You can supplement with toys and playing or one longer adventure a week or something like that. But really, when it comes to these walks, bonding experience with our dog, routine is going to be the big key, at least in my book. Then one of the other things that I mentioned was being understimulated. So that kind of ties into under-socialized, under-exercised, but understimulated takes it to the next level. It means that they're not getting socialized, they're not getting exercise, and as a result, they're not using their brain enough. So there's a lot of things you can do to stimulate and enrich your dog. Things like sniffing walks, like I already mentioned, playing games with them, most importantly, training, using that big, beautiful brain of theirs. You want to make sure that you are giving them something to think about, puzzles to solve, some task to work on, to work different parts of their brain. Your dog needs to be tired on 3 levels: socially tired, physically tired, and mentally tired in order to have a fully tired dog. And a fully tired dog is going to be a better adjusted dog in the long term. I keep getting distracted. Nugget is so stinking cute. She's on my dog's bed right now. Anyway, why did I think having foster cats in my live streams was a good plan? So cute. Anyway, so what I'm seeing as a trainer is I'm seeing a lot of anxiety issues. I know that's also my niche. That's my specialty. I specialize in dogs with anxiety disorders and obsessive compulsive disorder and all that sort of stuff. I expect to see a lot of that. I don't expect to see it in dogs this young. So I have some clients whose dogs get so overstimulated so quickly that they're going to end up hurting themselves or hurting some other dog or hurting the people that they live with through no fault of their own. It's just that when you are chronically understimulated, even everyday life can be overstimulating. So an example of this I'll give you is I was walking a dog for one of my training walks for the Pullers Plus program, and he's always been really easy to tip. It doesn't take much for him to just kind of shut his brain down and all of that. But I started seeing a more worrying trend. And that was in addition to not being able to focus, to being super easily distracted and overwhelmed, his brain shutting down quicker than most dogs would. I was also noticing that he was being overly worried about different things. So while we were walking, someone came out to get their trash cans from the side of the road, and he was initially startled and he would not turn and walk away from that person. Even after they went into the house, the dog I was walking continued to stand there staring, almost hyper vigilant. He had also gotten scared by like a leaf blowing across the road, which had never happened before. I was just seeing a lot of signs that he was being overstimulated by completely normal things. And that is one of the signs of anxiety in dogs. And it's one of the worst things, in my opinion. Having anxiety and being easily overstimulated, I would tell you it's very overwhelming. And so to have dogs so young already being in that state almost constantly, it is a little worrying and a little overwhelming. So I've talked about all the issues, not even all the issues. Those are just the basic issues, what they all boil down to. So how this all manifests, like I mentioned, is being super scared of really not that scary things, or things that they weren't scared of before, being hypervigilant about people, animals, all that sort of stuff. Being overly enthusiastic, having these crazy bursts of energy. I know we're all pretty used to puppy zoomies, but puppy zoomies should start to die out as they get older. And I'm not seeing that happen with a lot of the pandemic puppies that come across my path. I'm seeing those puppy zoomies continuing, even though they're getting to be a year old or are past a year old at this point, which is a little ridiculous. Maybe once in a blue moon. I mean, my 13-year-old gets the occasional zoomie, but it's once in a blue moon. I'm saying that I'm seeing these puppy zoomies every day that I see these animals, which is getting to be a little worrying, especially when we're just on a walk. To have them all of a sudden go from walking relatively nicely next to me to being this way and that way and over there and going so fast that their hind legs can't keep up. And that's not normal for a walk. But anyway, the other thing that I forgot to mention would be the lack of alone time with dogs. So again, as someone who specializes in anxiety and OCD in dogs, this makes me really start to worry about separation anxiety. I'm already seeing people who are talking about their young dogs not being able to tolerate them even going to the bathroom alone. Things like that. That's, again, we all love that we have puppies go through clingy stages. That's totally fine. But as they get older, they should be able to give you some space, go use the restroom without supervision. But some dogs are actually starting to get into a panic. They're starting to show signs of separation anxiety very young because they've never had to be separated. So all these things they're totally fixable. They're absolutely, we can deal with it. It's not a problem. I just would like to give you some tools to help you start to fix it on your own before needing to come to somebody like me and spending large chunks of money. So that's what we're going to go into next. I've talked about the scary stuff. I've talked about what's going on, what I'm seeing, but now I want to talk about what you can actually do to make it better. And some of these ideas came from Tufts University. So those of you who know vet schools know that Tufts University is like the only veterinary school in New England, but also one of the best veterinary schools in the world. So when they release a list of things to try, I'm down for it. So the first thing is to be patient with your puppy. I know that is so much easier said than done when you just want them to calm down, when you're so frustrated, when you've asked them to sit a dozen times and they're still not doing it, or you are getting frustrated and worried about how energetic they are or how they don't seem to know how strong they are, all those different things. There's a lot of things to be frustrated about when it comes to pandemic puppies in particular, puppies in general, but pandemic puppies in particular. And the most important thing I can tell you is to please be patient. We have the benefit of logic on our side. We can look at our dogs and say, oh, he's chewing my furniture. why is he chewing my furniture? And we can go down this thought ladder of being like, okay, so why do dogs chew? Dogs chew because it's something to do. So why might he be wanting to chew? Oh, probably because he doesn't have enough to do. So if you start to look at that and be like, okay, so if he's chewing the furniture, that means I'm not giving him what he needs. And that comes back on me. And hey, I can fix it. So you need to be able to take that deep breath, skip the anger and frustration, and just try to figure out what you can do to fix it. If you need some help figuring that out, give me a shout. At the end of the video, I will have all the different ways to contact us. I'm happy to help you figure out why your dog might be doing what they're doing. We can always come up with a solution, but the most important thing is to be patient while you come up with those solutions. The next most important thing would be to create and stick to a routine. This is, in general, just a really good tip for everybody whose work, life, school balance doesn't exist and there's no boundaries anymore. Everybody's working and learning and living in the same spaces. There's like, you eat and do your office work at the kitchen table, so there's no delineation between your work and your life balance. So by creating and sticking to a routine, you can also help you out, but most importantly, you're really going to help your dog, because dogs are very routine and predictability driven. So if they know that, okay, every morning we get up at 7 and I go out, then every morning at 7, they're going to want to go out. And that's one less thing they have to worry about of like, when am I going to go out next? So by sticking to a routine and giving them predictability, you're going to reduce that anxiety level that they have, which allows you to deal with the more specific problems without having to deal with anything additional from a topsy-turvy lifestyle. Now, I understand not everybody's day is perfectly routine, and dogs get that too. They are fairly flexible, but alternating between waking up at 7 a.m. and like 10 a.m. and then going at 9 a.m. the next day before 6 a.m. the next day, that is where dogs start to really struggle. So try your best to stick to a routine, sit and work as a family to come up with that routine. And as I mentioned before, when we were going over how many walks your dog should have and how long they should be, that's really where these routines come in handy. Because especially if you're a multi-person household and you say like, okay, so mom's going to take Fido out for their first walk, and that's going to be at 7:30 in the morning. And then dad's going to take him out for like the second walk, and that's going to be at 9, or whatever it is that you guys come up with. Just come to that schedule and that routine to let your dog start to figure things out. So the more routine and stable you keep their lives, the less likely you are to see the spikes in anxiety and energy and all of that. You're going to even that all out. Make it a little bit easier for them. So please try your best to come up with one of those. And you want to make sure that you're throwing in their meal times, obviously, their potty breaks, obviously, walks, some training time, and some like additional enrichment or playtime with them, whether that's fetch or games inside the house or whatever it might be. So I did mention training just then. I'm going to give you the same advice that I give all of my students who come to my classes, and that's that you should be working with your dog 30 times a day for 30 seconds. So when you're coming up with this routine, try and identify all the little 30-second times that you have throughout your day and highlight them on the schedule. So things like just thinking about breakfast, it takes about 30 seconds for you to brew your coffee, 30 seconds for you to toast your toast. I'm thinking 30 seconds for you to start the washer. There's all sorts of different things that you can come up with. 30-second commercials. There's plenty of little 30-second moments throughout your day, and just try to identify like, okay, so where can I fit these? And they don't have to be evenly spread throughout the day. You can cram a bunch in the morning, cram a bunch in the evening, and just do 1 or 2 in the afternoon. It's just important that you're working with them through multiple short bursts throughout the day that allows you to set them up for success. It keeps that frustration low, and it enriches their brain in really quick little bursts, which will get them excited to work for the next time. And it's the same sort of thing that we do here for daycare, in that our daycare is very different from most daycares. We set it up so that they play in short 20-minute sessions, and we rotate the dogs through. That means that we're building up that excitement and anticipation for the next 20-minute session, so that when they come back out, they play even better, they're happier and all of that. So you can build that same anticipation and excitement with pretty much anything that you do with your dog throughout the day. As long as you keep that routine, those patterns and all of that, so that they know that they can anticipate it's almost noon, and at noontime, I go for a walk. So they can get that excitement and burn that energy out a little bit faster when you go to have that activity with them. You also want to make sure that you're giving them some space. One of the things that's been hardest for dogs during all of this lockdown has been having people around constantly. And while it's awesome, they love it, it doesn't mean it's the best thing for them. So they're starting to get a little codependent. They're getting to be a little too anxious when they are alone. They're also getting run down in a social way by having the constant presence of their humans around. So that means that same thing for us. If you've been around people all day, if you've gone to a conference and you've been in lectures and meetings and all of that for 9-10 hours in the day, by the end of the day, you're exhausted. You're more easily likely to snap. And it's never a really good exhaustion of the same thing as, after you've gone for a run, or you've worked out, or you've cleaned around the house, or all these things. It's more draining. It's a different kind of exhaustion. And we're seeing that with dogs too. It leads them to be a little bit more reactive and a little bit more, again, high strung and hypervigilant. So give them some space. Give them their own space in the house, whether it's a crate that they can go in and out of, or their own corner of the living room. My dogs in my super messy office have their corner over there where their beds are that I don't go over into. They can come over to me if they want, but I don't go and bother them. Same thing at the house. The dog beds are sacred territory. I don't go into it. That's where they go to decompress. The thing that goes hand in hand with this would be to ensure a child-safe environment. So if you have kids at home, you are the most likely, and I hate to say this, but you are the most likely to be surrendering your pandemic puppy. And the reason is safety. Dogs that are understimulated, that are starting to develop anxiety, reactivity issues, resource guarding issues, anxiety, all that sort of stuff, are more of a threat. I don't mean that in a malicious way, but they are a bit more dangerous for children, because if they are super stressed out, if their anxiety is super high, or they're reacting to the tiniest of noises, guess what? Kids are noisy. Kids don't respect boundaries. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. Kids will often carry food. If they're small, they're going to have, and they're carrying food in their hands, they're going to be right at dog level. So there's just a whole lot of room for error when you are dealing with dogs and kids, especially when the dogs have not been fully trained and not been fully socialized and are starting to develop signs of anxiety. So please, please, please monitor your child and set up And this goes like regardless of whether your kid is 1, 2, 5, 12, whatever, you need to make sure that you are setting up your dog for success. So keeping your dog away from your child while they're eating, keeping your child away from your dog while they're sleeping, getting them to interact in a safe way, and always, 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 always monitor your child and your dog. If you cannot be there to watch your dog and your child, they should not be in the same room. I'm going to repeat that again. If you cannot watch the interactions between your dog and your child, they should not be together in the same room. Because dogs are wonderful creatures. They do the best that they can, and they communicate as best they can. But kids don't always listen, and kids don't always respect it. And the majority of times when a dog is surrendered for biting or nipping, it is because a child has pushed a dog too far, and you're setting a dog up for failure if you're leaving them unsupervised with a child. So please don't ever leave your child unsupervised with your dog. Anyway, moving on. You have to plan for returning to normal. I should put quotation marks on that. So that means setting up your routine similar to what it will be when the kids go back to school full time, when you go back into the office, whatever it might be. And I know we don't know for sure what that's going to look like, but I want you to stop and think about that and start to come up with a plan for what it might look like and how we can emulate that now. So if you are going to be working from out of the home, and you're going to need a dog walker like one of us to come, start getting that dog walker to come now at the times that you would need them when you aren't home. That gets your dog used to the routine of a stranger showing up at the house, putting a leash on them, and taking them for a walk. It allows them that predictability, it allows them that routine, and it gets them set up and looking forward to it even when you leave. The other thing you're going to want to do is to start practicing absences. So if you have a dog that you've never left alone, start with 5 seconds and slowly work your way up. You also want to try doing exercises like the doors bore or she's playing with a box now. Just working on making sure that you can go to the bathroom without your dog coming inside, starting to just build those short little absences so that they can grow to be longer. And always, always, always work with your dog's limitations. Do not push your dog too far too fast. Do not expect your dog to do more than they can do. You need to meet them where they are and then start to work together to move further. So if you do have a dog that is starting to struggle with absences, with separation, please reach out to me or another anxiety or separation anxiety specialist so that we can start working on that now and giving you the tools that you need to be able to have normal, 10-hour-a-day absences like you're going to have in the future if you do go back to the office and have a commute. So start to make those plans, start to do little things, like even if you just go for a walk without your dog so that they're home alone for, 5 minutes while you walk to the corner store, just start working on those slow, small, little absences right now before you have even more issues when you go back to work and struggle even more with these pandemic puppy issues. Anyway, she's so cute. That's basically what I had for pandemic puppies today. There are so many issues that different people are having with their dogs. And I wanted, originally when I planned this video, I was going to go into like all the different issues and into detail and how to fix it. And then I just realized that was too overwhelming, and there was a common cause from all of these. And the common cause is that your pandemic puppies are just not being set up to succeed. And that's no fault of ours. We're in a crazy time. We're not set up to succeed either as human beings with all of this. But a lot of people went ahead and got puppies for the company at home. And because, oh, look, I'm home all day. I have the time to do all the training. And then all the training kind of fell by the wayside because guess what? You can't do a group obedience class in the middle of a pandemic unless you're lucky enough to have a giant field and an airplane hangar. Like, there's a lot of things that were thought of with the best of intentions and ended up falling short because the world isn't ideal right now. So anything that you can do now, any little baby steps that you can take with your dog to start making their lives as stress-free as possible, the better results you're going to see from your pandemic puppy. And as always, if you are struggling, please, please, please let us know. Let us help. Our motto is helping you help your pets, and it's not just a tagline on our business card. It really is what we think and what we believe. We are here to help you because we want you to help we want your pets to succeed. We want your dogs to be happy. So anything that we can do to assist with that, please let us know. So all the ways to contact us. You have our website, www.magicofpaws.com. Make sure you have that www. I've been hearing some glitches from people depending on the browser and depending on the version of the browser and depending on your computer and whether you're on your computer or your phone. If you type in just magicofpaws.com, sometimes it doesn't always show up. I'm trying to fix that, but I don't have it quite yet. You can always email us at info@magicofpaws.com. You can email me directly at nissa@magicofpaws.com. But if you want a quick answer, info@magicofpaws is the best way to go. My inbox has like thousands of unread emails in it, and I'm doing my best. It's been a busy pandemic. You can also set up a time to speak with me directly and put yourself right on my calendar by going to calendly.com/magicofpaws. That way you can set up a virtual training consultation, or you can set up a time to come here for a consultation, for me to go to you, or we also have the time. You can just set up a time for me to call and talk to you about all the different options that we have. I think there's even an option in there for if you want to come by the resort and get a tour to see if you are interested in doggy daycare, get a feel for what the premises are like, what we can offer, what a day looks like here. So if you are sure you want to set up a time to talk, that's the best way to make sure that we have the time for it. We also have all of our different Facebook resources. So we have the main page on Facebook, obviously, but the best way to interact with us would be in our public Facebook group, which is called Helping You Help Your Pets. We try to make things consistent. And if you are having any issues, please feel free to post it on in there and we can address it in there too. We also do fairly regular Q&As in there. So if you have a question, you can pop on during one of those lives and get your questions answered right then. So I've mentioned training multiple times. We have virtual training if you're not around here on our website, but we also are offering a couple of in-person classes here outside in our beautiful field or in that airplane hangar. So you can get a class experience interacting with other people, getting your dog socialized with other dogs. We have two different options for that. We have high school for dogs, which is on the assumption that your dog knows nothing or that your dog is not capable of doing anything around other dogs, which, to be honest with you, most pandemic puppies would fall into a high school for dogs class. It doesn't matter their age, whether you have a young pandemic puppy or an older dog that you haven't done anything with yet. they're both great options for that high school for dogs class. And starting next Saturday, we are also offering our college for dogs, which is just the next level up. It's similar to like a beginner course that you would see. So we're talking things like stay, loose leash walking, drop it, leave it, take it, that sort of stuff. All of your basics, acting on the assumption that your dog has had a little bit of training beforehand. So both of those classes operate on a drop-in schedule. You come when you can. If you miss a week, that's totally fine. You're not going to be behind. We'll catch you up if we need to. Don't worry about it. Just come when you can. So those are currently high school for dogs is on Saturdays at 10 a.m. and college for dogs starts Saturday at 11 a.m. So any Saturday that you can come by, please go ahead and sign up for one of those classes. We'd be happy to have you outside now that the weather is better. Hopefully it holds and we have some really nice Saturdays coming up. Anyway, I think that's everything from me. Last call for questions to come in. I've been forgetting to check over on Instagram, but it looks like Sugar Cookie has just been talking about how wonderful a dog's routine is. And that's very true. So Sugar Cookie says, dog's routine keeps me on routine, which is absolutely true. One of the main reasons dogs are so beneficial to people with mental health issues, such as anxiety or depression, is that they do create that outside routine that you need to stick to because there's another living being that needs it from you. So go ahead, set up that routine that works for both of you. Obviously, don't set up a routine that involves your dog being stuck inside for 12 hours. Don't set up a routine that is going to interfere with your work schedule, but find a good way to meet all of your needs. So I'm not seeing any new questions or comments coming in. So I'm going to let you go enjoy the rest of your beautiful Sunday. And as always, if there's any way that we can help you help your pets, please let us know. All right. Have a good day, everyone.